All right, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Evernest Real Estate Investor Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Spencer Sutton, and I've got two co-hosts with me today. I've got Matthew Whitaker and Gray Hall. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
What's going on, guys?
Man, this is pretty awesome. Our maiden voyage on our podcast. I couldn't be more excited. Very excited to be here with you two, and we're going to talk a ton of real estate on this show.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I mean, we have we have started podcasts before. We've got a podcast that's focused solely on Birmingham real estate, one that's for property managers, but this one is we thought this one made a lot of sense because we wanted to open it up to a bigger audience. So talk a little bit about that, Matthew.
Yeah, we've had good podcasts and we've had bad podcasts. So we've had podcasts fail, and hope this is not one of those. No, we had a really successful have a really successful podcast in Birmingham. And as we've grown our business, and we'll tell you more about that, into 11 different markets handling real estate investments for people, we thought how fun it would be to create more of a national podcast and help people more on a national level versus a hyper local level in Birmingham. So we've done some brainstorming, and now we're ready to kick this thing off with giving some really great content, and we'll go into what that means. But I think first thing we ought to do is just tell everybody who the heck we are and what gives us the rights to tell them, or gives us the right to tell somebody how to invest in real estate. So Spence, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off. So my name's Spencer Sutton. I live here in Birmingham, Alabama, and just kind of give you a little bit of a background on, how I got into real estate. In 2013, I bought a franchise called Homevestors. And if you know anything about Homevestors, have you ever seen the billboards that say "We Buy Ugly Houses" with their mascot UGG on it? That was Homevestors. So bought that franchise in Birmingham and started wholesaling houses. As a matter of fact, I sold Matthew his first house probably in 2004, and wholesale houses.
Still mad about that, by the way.
You still own the house, so it's got to be a great house.
Yeah, I can't get rid of that dog.
So, over the course from 2003 till about 2007, 2008, I wholesaled probably about 150 houses. And at some point in 2006, started buying some rentals. And so when the market crashed in 2008, I had about 30 rental houses. And that's how I got started in real estate.
That's pretty awesome.
Matthew, why don't you? Our stories kind of intersect a little bit.
They do. I think it's appropriate for me to go next. Sorry, Gray. I also owned a Homevestors franchise. Was not Spencer's franchise. So we had competing or complementary franchises in the same market. I too am here in Birmingham, and Spencer sold me my first house, and I got really hooked on real estate investing. That was in 2003. I was 23 years old, bought my first house, was using a home equity line of credit to invest and then refinance and put a tenant in it. And that's what I did with that house, and still own it today. And much like you, from 03 to 07, 08, I bought and sold about 100 houses through Homevestors and some investors that I had, both funding the deals that I was doing and selling houses too. And of course, the market crashed on me as well. And when that happened, I went out and our team started a property management company, which is called Evernest, which is the brand name on this podcast. And so ever since then, we have been growing Evernest, which I'm sure we'll talk about a ton on the podcast. But part of growing that was running into a guy named Gray Hall. So Gray, why don't you kick it off and tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah. So when I started, I thought these guys actually owned all of Homevestors. And so that's why I came to work here. Little to know they were franchisees.
We may or may not have said that.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. We own Homevestors.
So I joined Evernest. So I kind of came into it, really learning, kind of wanting to learn about real estate investing and learn from guys who have gone through the crash and guys who started before and kind of saw the painfulness of it, and then kind of learned the business side and the property management side. And so I came on board at Evernest about 5 years ago. So I really kind of entered through learning property management first. And so spent a couple of years in Birmingham, where I'm from. And then I moved out to Denver to open an office here. And so got the chance to work with tons of investors and see what works well and see what doesn't. And also get kind of insight into two different markets, Birmingham being a cash flow market and Denver being a whole different beast with much higher price point and things that investors kind of look at those two markets different. And so, I got a crash course on what works and what doesn't through the lens of property management.
Well, this is great. I mean, what I hope is that we're going to give you listeners, whether you're a seasoned investor or whether you're learning about real estate investing and want to get involved in it, we want to give you, Gray mentioned he wanted to be around people who had been through the pain of the crash. We're going to give you some life lessons that we learned along the way. And then, what we see in some of the most successful real estate investors out there right now. So Matthew, why don't you talk about maybe even the kind of the 4 buckets, like what people can expect when they listen to our podcast?
I think we do have a unique view, but if you think about it, we have multiple market views. We manage almost 5,000 houses in those markets. So we have a really unique view into the real estate market. And so what we've decided to do is try to break down each show into these 4 buckets. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling, if you will, of real estate investing. And it's not just kind of version 1.0. We want to go kind of deep into the fundamentals, version 2.0, 3.0, kind of, second level fundamentals, if you will. There's a lot of shows out there that are devoted to getting started, and I think those are extremely important. But some people want to go deeper and really understand the fundamentals of investing. The next one is we're going to highlight markets, particularly the ones that we're in, because those are way easier for us to highlight. And as we expand, and we do expect to expand pretty quickly, we have expanded quickly in the past, and we'd like to kind of do some deep dives into the markets and show you what these markets look like and what type of houses people are buying in these markets. Talk to the people that are boots on the ground in the markets, get the feel of what's going on, what's driving the economy, what's driving housing. What are investors doing in those markets? So
best places to invest in these areas.
Absolutely. Thank you. The next thing we're going to do, speaking of best places to invest, is real deals. So we're going to be actually buying some houses on the show, and we're going to walk you through the numbers. We're going to use, local vendors. We're going to go around and buy houses in each market that we're in. And so you'll get to kind of walk through that with us. And the whole goal is to kind of build a portfolio as we go through the show and do deep dives. And I keep saying deep dives, so forgive me for that. But, get really deep into these deals that we're doing. And I'm sure we're going to screw up and lose some money somewhere. So you won't want to miss that action, because that's part of investing, right? Like, you're going to have some good deals. You're going to have some bad deals. You're going to make good decisions. You're going to make bad decisions. And I thought, as we were talking, it would be fun for us to say, well, we lost money on this deal, or we made a bad decision, and kind of be very transparent about that, so people will know that that's okay. And then the last thing we want to do is share some stories from other investors, mostly success stories, and to kind of inspire people to continue their investing journey and maybe grow and learn from some of the things that successful people have done in this industry.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about these real deals, because like when we're buying these properties, we talked about buying, properties in every market that we're in and walking through them, going like, we are going to get into the nitty gritty. And then as the podcast matures and as the podcast grows, we will keep coming back and giving you updates on all of these deals, just so you can see like, this is what's possible. And like Matthew said, if there's anything that goes wrong, like we will share the nitty gritty of these deals and get under the hood. And I'm excited about the success stories too, interviewing investors, some that we probably work with that are clients, and then some that we've gotten to meet just in being in the business, because I think they have a lot of great information to share. And we will try to we will probe and ask all the kind of questions that we would want to know if we were just, if we wanted to be successful investors like they are. So, Gray, anything to add?
No, you said deep dive a lot. I'm just kind of excited to get into the details with a lot of, the real deals and kind of going through how are we estimating, rehabs? What does that look like? What are the improvements we need to make? And that ties to the market spotlights. Like what things in certain zip codes do we need to do? What are the types of properties that we need to look at? And so giving listeners a ton of advice on scaling portfolios across different markets. I think that is something that we've kind of had our eyes open to over the past year. And a lot of the investors that I'm talking to that we're helping to buy, people want to scale in multiple markets. And that's kind of our goal, is to give, very deep kind of, actionable insight into each market so that you can be a successful investor. So you know what you're getting into and you can make the right decision. So I'm super excited to kind of go through this and highlight all of our markets and talk to local brokers on the ground who are seeing, markets change from, week to week. And so, being able to bring that to listeners and highlight a lot of these, really strong markets for investors to invest in.
You can tell why we brought Gray on the podcast. He's going to be the optimist. He's been doing this for 5 years.
We'll let the other guys be the pessimists.
That's right. We like to think of ourselves as realists. We have 40 years of almost 40 years of combined experience doing this, and so obviously being through the crash, seen a lot. So Gray's going to inject it with some energy and some optimism, and then Spencer and I will also be able to
with the so-called realism.
We'll tell you the truth.
Beat you down.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely
maybe beat you down a little bit. But
I mean, the market has been so great. Like Matthew and I are just going, man, this thing is. When is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? Like we have that little bit of a fear factor from 2008, but man, it's been phenomenal for quite some time. So
it has, and whether it's changed by the time you're listening to this, we're going to follow along with it. And, one of the things that I've been so amazed about real estate is people make money in down markets. They make money in up markets, bull markets, bear markets. I mean, that's the great thing about real estate is if you are in tune with what's going on, you can make money regardless of which way the market's headed. So, this show will be hopefully not market specific, but help you regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I think and like Gray mentioned, I think we're going to have a lot of I know we're going to have a lot of diversity in this podcast because you are going to we have investors that are buying houses and have portfolios in Birmingham. They also have houses in Chattanooga and Nashville and Atlanta. So we're going to be in some of these high growth markets like Nashville and Denver and parts of Atlanta. And then also some of these tertiary markets like Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Birmingham, Chattanooga, Little Rock. So I think this is going to be just a great kind of overview of what you can expect. And especially as many out-of-state investors there are around the country now. It's pretty exciting with technology, with like boots on the ground, with people you can trust on the ground. It's really exciting what you can do today with real estate. All right, everybody. So this is what you can expect from this podcast. We are really excited to bring this to you. And so just get ready. And we're going to ask you right at the start, right out of the gate, download this podcast, subscribe to our podcast. And if you like this episode, if you like a couple of these episodes, would you please leave us a review? Because that's how others find us. And so we will sign off on this episode, and we will see you on the next episode of the Evernest Real Estate Investor Podcast.